EyeOpener, promise to promise. How much longer will the masses be willing to believe the empty and unfulfilled promises of incompetent, inefficient, ineffective, and immoral leadership? Though it has been apparent to me for more than a decade, Joe Biden's corruption, as well as the corruption surrounding him, seems to have finally pierced the veil of misguided faith in American leadership. For years, I have pointed out that leaders of both major political parties in the United States have given up on even trying to hide their motives. When Nancy Pelosi can admit in a press conference that not only are our Congress men and women partaking in insider trading, but that they should have that right, even though insider trading is illegal for everyone else. Pelosi believes it should be legal for Congress, the entity that has one, if not the biggest impacts on stock prices. This is why her stock portfolio consistently beats the best financial advisors and hedge fund managers in the world. If one calculates the money that Pelosi earned in the 40 years in which she been an elected public servant, her net worth would not exceed $12 million today. This figure was calculated at her current annual salary as a representative since the mid 1980s, and if she never spent a dime of it, nor was ever taxed on it, she could only have accumulated $12 million plus or minus a million or two if she invested wisely. The problem, however, is that her wealth has been estimated to be around 100 million. No statistician could come up with a margin of error that could justify the difference between the 12 million she should be worth and the 100 million she might actually be worth. Suffice it to say that Pelosi's success in the stock market is the best evidence as to why insider trading should be illegal. Suffice it to say that corruption could be the only answer as to why Pelosi was able to accumulate such excess wealth. Now consider what those under Pelosi must think about ways in which to get ahead in life. If Pelosi can so brazenly use immoral though legal means to get ahead, with no real repercussions, why couldn't I do the same? No one is holding her accountable for putting her needs and the needs of her donors over the needs of the majority. Pelosi, being as big of a traitor as she has been to her own country, begs the question, why would anyone in her organization need to operate in an ethical manner? To be honest, being an ethical person in Pelosi's orbit would leans more towards being a fool's errand than anything else. Why would Pelosi want someone who might expose her corruption around her? That would be like a mob boss choosing to have whistleblowers in his crew. This behavior is not limited to Pelosi or the Democrats. Republicans are the same way, but modern Republicans don't claim to be the party of the people. As long as I've been aware of the Republican Party, it's been identified as the party of big business. Where our GOP leaders have been wolves in wolves' clothing for decades, Democratic leaders have been wearing sheepskins. And now the corruption has reached its zenith in Joe Biden and his family. You would be hard pressed to find a more immoral and unethical first family than the Bidens. Just look at the fact that Hunter Biden married his brother's widow, allegedly turned her on to crack cocaine, dated his brother's widow's sister, and had images of underage girls on that infamous laptop. Other than Hunter, questions about integrity and ethics have swirled around Joe himself. From showering with his daughter when she was young, to sexual abuse allegations, to improper dealing with foreign businesses entities, Joe has not appeared to be the most upright citizen. From racist remarks, acquaintances, to racist policies, bills, and laws, Joe has betrayed every race. And if one includes the ways in which he has brought all but the richest Americans to a point where survival is a real concern, Joe has failed a sizable majority of his constituents. His handling of crises, both natural and man made, has to be in competition with some of the worst presidential responses witnessed over more than the last couple decades. With his failed response to the fires in Maui, the train crash and subsequent chemical spill in East Palestine, Ohio, and his disturbing withdrawal from Afghanistan, he seems to have matched George W. Bush's perceived incompetence in the face of natural disasters like Katrina and on natural disasters like the war in Iraq. With his missteps in regards to the economy, which could only be considered strong if you're out of touch or rich, he may have topped Obama, who bailed out the banks with the people's money, but forgot to bail out the people. The rate of inflation may have subsided, but the inflation is still here, and no one can deny that. Then there are the preemptive pardons. Why would anyone need a pardon if they haven't committed a crime? Why would Hunter need a pardon that goes back 14 years? That's 10 years of crimes that Joe seems to be pardoning Hunter's actions. Why, Joe? Why? Was the presidency Biden gave us the one he promised? One thing I remember both Biden and Obama promising was to codify Roe versus Wade as their first act as president. Neither did it. And now it's no longer federally protected. I'm not saying abortion should be legal or illegal. I'm saying that both Obama and Biden should have kept their campaign promises in this regard. This is the point of this entire post. Promises made should be promises kept. Whether those promises lead to actual results is another matter because it's understood that there will always be opposition. This, however, is not an excuse to abandon almost all of the promises made on the campaign trail. Instead of failing to keep most of your promises, why not simply promise to promise? At least we'll all know for sure that you are full of it. To find out other ways you're being screwed by your current leaders, check out the post on this blog daily. Learn about the biggest and worst issues that America and its people face today. You can also check in to hear about those issues that America and its people will face in the near and distant future. If, however, you would like to discover possible solutions to either mitigate the worst impacts of these issues or solutions to avoid them altogether, keep listening. The problems we face are not as complicated as so many leaders and news reports claim. They are man made and are only claimed as complicated so those who are responsible can maintain control. For example, there is a persistent argument that moving government is like turning a cruise ship around. It is supposedly a long process that can only be achieved incrementally. While this may be true for laws and policies that benefit the majority of Americans, it does not seem to be so for that smallest of American minorities. When one examines the policies and laws that benefit that minority known as the elite or the rich, the speed at which those laws are passed is exponentially faster. While most of us sit on the deck chairs waiting for the Titanic to avoid the myriad of icebergs of which we seem to continually run afoul, the elite ride comfortably in speedboats. If, according to our Constitution, all men are created equal, why do the rich live quite different lives than the rest of us? Where is our speedboat? In 2018, Chris Osman wrote a book highlighting the problems humanity would face if more power, wealth, and control were funneled to a small group of individuals, groups, or organizations. In that book, Mr. Osman provided solutions from himself and others to the inevitable problems we would all face. In it, he also provided a means for the public to analyze, compare, and contrast the words and deeds of those we've chosen to follow against our real world experiences. To this end, Mr. Osman provides the means for readers to disseminate information as provided by their news sources of choice, their elected officials, and any other authority they choose to follow. The book titled Solutions Enough Complaining. Let's Fix America offers a means to hold leaders up not just to a higher standard than is currently accepted, but to one that will improve lives. Do you solemnly promise to promise? Click the link below and get your copy of Solutions today.